Well, the election of the new National Assembly Speaker went ahead despite a boycott by the EFF. They did not participate today, and the threat of legal action from an NGO, the New Nation Movement. The NMM says the decision to elect Mapisa-Nqakula was reportedly imposed on members of the ANC caucus by ANC National Chairperson Gwede Mantashe. To discuss, we're joined by the co-founder of the New Nation Movement, Bulelani Mkholiswa. Mr. Mkholiswa, thank you for being with us. You did want to stop this. What will you do now that Mapisa-Nqakula has actually been elected?
Well, good afternoon or good evening, and thank you for having us. Our intention was really to make a statement to say, even if the ANC and the whole of Parliament continue with this process, but they need to know that the public is beginning to voice that dissatisfaction, at some of the decisions that they are taking, which they claim that they're in the interest of the ordinary South Africans.
Okay, so you won't be launching a legal challenge or anything like that?
Well, we will be converging with our legal team tomorrow to finalize the next phase of our program, because what we can tell you is that this is not the end of the matter. We will definitely be engaging, and exploring some of the avenues that, that can actually show that South Africans at large or a number of South Africans are actually unhappy with what is unfolding in Parliament.
Yeah.
But I think it is important for us to, to state this categorically, that we need to get to a place where all the three arms of state actually enjoy that clear separation, and they enjoy equal status, because currently we are seeing the executive looking as if they are just in charge of everything. And then the question arises as to how can then Parliament be expected to provide oversight, to the very people that are appointing them to those positions? Are they not going to be finding themselves paying more allegiance to those people as opposed to the interests of the ordinary citizens that have voted them into power?
So the issue here is that you believe that the top brass of the ANC basically imposed her as Speaker on Parliament. How should it work? Should there have been some sort of organic, emergence of a leader within Parliament itself? Because people do have a problem with this, but there is movement between the executive, their MPs, and then ministers. So there is that movement between Parliament and the executive already.
Look, I mean, that question is a very critical question to be answered. In fact, this might actually show that the issue is not so much with the ANC itself. It could be that the political parties are just using the loophole that already exists, within the system. So it actually calls for the whole system to be reviewed itself as to, can you really hold someone else accountable if that person is the one who's actually put you in that position? Because we as ordinary citizens who are outside of Parliament, who are not members or in the leadership of the ANC, as much as we're the ones who vote these people into Parliament, that's where our role ends. The day we put our X, and from there for the next 5 years, there is no recourse for us if we are seeing things that we do not like happening in Parliament.
Yeah.
So I think, to answer your question again, I think there's a need, for this, the whole process, to be relooked at. Is it really working? And the answer is, if we're looking where the country is, the answer is no. It is definitely not working. So yes.
Yeah, but if you're saying it's not working, you've got to present an alternative that's viable. Can we look at any other countries? Is there a different way of doing this?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes that we do, and I think many people, many countries do that, they would want to look at what is called best practice. But I think South Africa is a very unique country in many, many ways with its past. So it is important for us to actually say, what do we think is going to work for us as South Africa? We have seen, we've experienced this system for the last 27 years. What is it that we think what has worked over the last 27 years and what has not worked. And I think one of the things that must be critically looked at is going back to the concept of government of national unity, where each elected political party does have a say, to a certain degree. So I think that's one of the things that must be looked at. But there's definitely a need for an inclusive government, from here onwards, where even professional bodies are actually allowed to be given space to give their inputs, where civic organizations are allowed to be part of these processes. Because what we have seen, at least over the last 10 years or even 12 years, we can actually tell that our government has not put the interests of the people first. And how can we point those fingers? We're able to point them because the quality of the representatives that they've put forth are people that we're having issues with. Let's just take Mapisa-Nqakula. The Joint Standing Committee on Defense has already launched, I think, conducting an inquiry, about the 5 million rand that she actually was allegedly received, from a SANDF contractor. And there's a litany of other complaints against her over the last 9 years when she was the Minister of Defense. So the question is, a critical position like the Speaker of Parliament, which is the head of one of the arms of states, a person that has issues even with respecting Parliament, because when the report came about the ministers that were not following or not doing their obligations of giving the reports, to the Parliament.
Yes.
She was one of the people that was always late or who was showing disregard of those processes. So
yes.
The question is, now that she's sitting at the head of that, is she going to show any more respect for that office? When she did not show much respect of that office when she was not there.
All right, thank you. And our next guest, I think, will agree with you around some of those concerns. That was the co-founder of the New Nation movement, Bulelani Mkholiswa.